Have you ever felt like time has stopped right in front of you? The sound of an old clock is not just an ordinary sound. It is whispering something you were never meant to hear. When you look into the mirror, sometimes you might see something that is not you. And if that voice calls your name, would you dare to turn around? The clock in the old room ticked slowly. A cold wind blew through the cracked window. The light from the old lamp barely illuminated the faded walls. He stood in the middle of the room, his heart beating faster than usual. Every sound around him seemed exaggerated and too clear. The old wooden floor creaked with every step he took. The smell of dust and old wood mixed, making him feel nauseous. He looked at the dusty mirror. He saw his own reflection, but with a smile that was not his own. His vision began to blur. It was as if a shadow moved behind him. But when he turned, no one was there. A faint whisper came from the walls. The words were unclear but filled with fear. His heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst. He walked slowly toward the sound. Every step made the wooden floor tremble. The lamp's light began to fade. His reflection in the mirror started moving on its own, without him moving. Suddenly, the clock quickened its rhythm. The sound echoed like thunder in the silence. He stopped breathing, trying to hold back his fear. But the sound drew closer and closer. As if someone was right there, breathing next to his ear. His cold, damp hands touched the wooden wall. And he felt a vibration coming from within. The whisper turned into a scream, echoing from every corner of the room. His body shook uncontrollably, but the mirror in front of him revealed a sight that made his breath catch. He saw himself being pulled into the darkness of the mirror. Time around him seemed to freeze. A strange laughter echoed in his ears, along with the faint light that shone in a mysterious way. He took a step back, but the floor beneath him seemed to shift. The wood moaned under his weight, as if protesting. The shadows in the corners of the room deepened, stretching toward him. Every breath he took felt heavier, thicker, like he was inhaling darkness itself. He raised his hand to touch the mirror again. This time, the surface was no longer cold. It was warm, almost alive, pulsing under his fingertips. A whisper called his name. Soft, yet urgent. The sound seemed to come from inside the mirror. He recoiled, heart hammering in his chest. Then, a cold wind blasted through the room, though the window was closed. His hair whipped around his face. The lamp flickered violently, throwing the room into shifting shadows. Each shadow seemed to take a shape, like twisted figures reaching toward him. He blinked, trying to make sense of what he saw. A hand appeared on the inside of the mirror. It was his hand, or at least, it looked exactly like his. But the fingers were longer, thinner, claw-like. The mirror version of him smiled wider. A grin that reached impossibly far across its face. The whisper became words, clear now. Come closer, join me. Panic surged through his body. His feet froze, glued to the floor. The shadows in the room seemed to laugh, low and cruel. The air thickened, pressing against his lungs. He stumbled backward, knocking over the lamp. It crashed to the ground, shattering. For a moment, the room plunged into darkness. Then, a dim red glow emanated from the mirror. The reflection reached through the glass. Its fingers stretched farther, brushing against his cheek. He felt a cold, electric shock run through his arm. A scream tore from his throat, raw and desperate. The mirror version of him leaned closer. It whispered, "Time is mine. Time belongs to me." The walls of the room seemed to contract. The ceiling lowered, as if the room itself was alive. He could hear a ticking, louder than any clock he had ever heard. It filled his head, rattling his skull. Every second felt like hours. Every breath was agony. He tried to run, but the door slammed shut on its own. The lock clicked, though he did not touch it. A cold mist rolled across the floor, curling around his ankles. It smelled of decay and rust. The mirror pulsed with light, brighter and brighter. The reflection of the room inside the glass shifted. It showed a place he did not recognize, an endless corridor of mirrors, all showing his face. He screamed again, pounding on the door. Nothing moved. Nothing answered. The ticking grew faster, now a deafening roar. Time itself seemed to warp around him. He could see fragments of his own past. Moments he had long forgotten flashed in the mirrors. They were distorted, twisted, full of shadows he did not remember. The mirror hands pulled harder. He fell to his knees. His reflection grinned triumphantly. It whispered secrets he could not understand. His body ached as if being torn apart from the inside. The mist coiled higher, lifting him slightly off the floor. Panic became pure terror. Every instinct screamed for him to fight, to resist. But the reflection had strength beyond him. It pulled him closer to the mirror. He reached out, desperate, trying to touch something solid. Only cold glass met his fingertips. The mirror seemed to absorb him, pulling him into its dark depths. His vision blurred, replaced by endless reflections. His own eyes stared back at him from 1,000 angles. They all smiled. Time fractured around him. Seconds stretched into eternities. He could hear every heartbeat he had ever had. Every step he had ever taken echoed through the mirrors. Every word he had ever spoken repeated endlessly. And through it all, the reflection whispered, always whispering. His body twisted, contorted, trying to escape. The mirror consumed him slowly, pulling him into its cold embrace. The room around him vanished, replaced by infinite glass corridors. The ticking became his heartbeat, his breath, his very soul. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Only whispers, only echoes. The reflection grinned wider, triumphant. He saw himself fade. Every memory, every moment, every fragment of time pulled into the mirror. The room, the lamp, the shadows, all vanished. Only the mirror remained, glowing with an eerie red light. And inside it, the faint outline of a human figure struggled, reaching out. Then silence. Complete and absolute. The ticking stopped. The room was still. The mirror hung on the wall, perfectly ordinary now. No light, no movement, no sound. But if one looked closely, the faintest shadow of a smile lingered in the glass. A whisper echoed again, so soft it could almost be ignored. Time will remember you, forever. The wind outside grew calm. The cold receded, but the feeling remained. A pulse, faint, like a heartbeat. Somewhere, far away, a clock ticked once more. And the echo of time had found its next keeper. Days passed, but the room remained empty. The broken lamp lay on the floor, gathering dust. The air was still, almost unnaturally quiet. People whispered that the house was abandoned. No one dared enter, yet the faint ticking could sometimes be heard from inside. He was gone. Yet sometimes, when the wind shifted just right, a cold shiver ran down the spine of anyone passing by. In the mirror, the faintest outline of a figure could be seen. Frozen in a smile that no human should hold. Time moved on outside. Seasons changed, people came and went. But inside, the echo of what had happened lingered. The mirror held its secret. Its silent power. And the whispers continued, only for those who listened too closely. And though the world carried on as usual, the house remembered, the room remembered, the mirror remembered, and somewhere, in the silent pulse of the glass, the echo of time waited. Dash dash dash. Dash dash dash.